Working Americans, mostly low and middle income, overwhelmingly comply with the law because their information is automatically passed on to the agency through payroll. On the other side of the coin are the complicated pass-throughs and other structures often designed by the wealthy, specially for tax avoidance.
As you heard, IRS data reveals that the wealthiest Americans have evaded taxes to the tune of nearly $1 billion just between 2017 and 2020. And now Senator Ron Wyden, as you just saw, is calling on the IRS to crack down in a letter to the IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel. So let's get into some reporting from Common Dreams. More than 1.4 million wealthy Americans have still not filed their taxes for those years. Wyden said, with the total amount owed to the federal government reaching a whopping $65.7 billion, almost enough to fund a universal childcare program for 1 year or a universal school lunch program for more than 2 years. I just want to pause and say, I love that Common Dreams includes that kind of information in the reporting, because most large mainstream media outlets wouldn't point out what can be used with that money so that we can see in terms of what that means for the American people when these rich people cheat on their taxes. Just wanted to give some flowers to Common Dreams, and let's get into some more of their reporting. Nearly 1,000 people who earn $1 million per year or more have yet to file their tax returns, but Wyden wrote that the most alarming revelation is the data provided to his committee by the IRS was the extraordinary amount of unpaid taxes owed by a small subset of ultra wealthy non-filers, with the 2,000 highest earning tax dodgers currently owning $923 million. These high earners, said Wyden, have access to professional advisors and are well aware of their filing obligations with the IRS, but continue to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars that could support food aid, housing assistance, public health efforts, and other federal programs. Now, he said this when speaking to the Washington Post. These are people who essentially blow raspberries at the IRS. They're sophisticated people. They know this is wrong, and they do it anyway. The data underscores that when the IRS is underfunded, as Republicans advocate for, wealthy tax cheats benefit in a massive way because smaller audits for lower income people are significantly easier and less resource intensive. So they're more likely to conduct those smaller scale audits on average everyday people, as opposed to going after these people who owe, as we just pointed out, almost $1 billion in unpaid taxes. Now, to Biden's credit, the Inflation Reduction Act included increases in funding for the IRS, which House Republicans, as you would expect, voted to rescind. From WAPO, unfortunately for Republicans, enforcement funded by that law has paid off, bringing in more than 38 million from 175 tax-rich delinquents. The IRS announced in July, and this month the agency announced plans to use the funding for still more efforts targeting wealthy tax avoiders. With tax evasion from previous years still affecting federal coffers, Wyden told Werfel in his letter that the IRS should initiate enforcement actions against every single millionaire non-filer as part of its ongoing effort to use Inflation Reduction Act funding to restore fairness and tax compliance. But of course, tax evasion is just one small part of this massive problem. Because thanks to the tax code that favors income from wealth over income from work, the richest Americans often end up paying a smaller percentage of their income to the federal government than most working families. And a little bit more on that from Oxfam America. Since 2020, the richest 1% have captured almost 2/3 of all new wealth. According to a 2021 White House study, the wealthiest 400 billionaire families in the US paid an average federal individual tax rate of just 8.2%. For comparison, the average American taxpayer in the same year paid 13%. According to leaked tax returns highlighted in a ProPublica investigation, the 25 richest Americans paid 13.6 billion in taxes from 2014 to 2018, a true tax rate of just 3.4% on $401 billion of income. And guys, this type of story is the type of story that really infuriates me, especially when we're talking about Republicans who have been pushing this continuing resolution or this budget resolution, which they're naming the Stop Government Spending Act. They're always talking about how we need to be, we need to be financially stable. We need to be fiscally conservative so that we're not overspending from the government. We have this money that the government should have, that the Republicans are intentionally protecting from the government getting. They're trying to pass legislation, trying to prevent reauthorization of legislation so that these rich people don't have to pay their taxes. But do poor Americans get those same sort of protections? Absolutely not. They get the book thrown at them because they can't hire these wealthy consultants, these tax experts to help them avoid their taxes. And I don't think that they should. I just think that the rich people should pay their fair share of taxes, what they're supposed to be paying.
Wait a minute, Rayyvana. Are you saying trickle-down economics doesn't work? Are you saying? How dare you say that? It's amazing how when you tell people, go ahead, make the money and then share it with everybody else, they go off and buy yachts. There was a great daily, the daily podcast. There was a great one where they were talking about how Jeff Bezos and these, ultra rich people, they don't pay any. Like Jeff Bezos supposedly, and people can research this, I think he was giving himself like an $80,000 salary. And then the way these guys work is they don't even sell stocks to pay what you were talking about, which is where the rich pay a lesser tax than income tax. They pay the profit tax. These ultra rich don't even do that. What they do is they go out and get a loan when they're gonna go buy something. And then they get another loan. They use their assets to get another loan to pay off the loan. So they're just borrowing because they go, look, I'm worth $300 billion. Just keep loaning me money. And they end up avoiding having to pay any taxes. And there's been some great ideas. Elizabeth Warren had a great idea. She said, why don't we tax you on the profit you made that year? If you didn't sell the stock, let's tax you once you hit a certain amount of wealth. Let's tax you on, you went from 50 million to 52 million. So let's get some taxes, 3% tax on the 2 million. But as you said in your own breakdown, obviously they have a lot more clout in Congress and they keep getting away with it.
Yeah, and in regards to that, it's when you hear these numbers, because the human brain doesn't really do well counting big numbers, even past like 100 or less than that. But the $65 billion in skip taxes, almost $1 billion, $940 million. The Pentagon, we accidentally forgot where we put $1 trillion. The military always getting more money than they ask, no matter who's in office, it goes up every year. The United States is the wealthiest nation in the history of organized human civilization. There has never been a country with a more organized military that's more deadly than ours. So the idea that we can't afford to do things like fix our healthcare system, fix our education system is absolutely ridiculous, especially as you pointed out from Commonwealth, how this is like, the amount of taxes that the wealthy have dodged in this 1 year alone could have paid for free college or free school meals or free daycare, whatever it may be. That really just reflects that the people in power don't care about these things. They have malice and they have disdain for the working class. I mean, look at what's being said about all of these the union strikes. What's the attitude towards that? Oh, these people don't want to work 5 days a week. They want a 4-day week. That's not what America's about. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, if anything destroys this country, it's just going to be the corruption. America controls a lot of land. And if too many people become broke and dissatisfied with the government, it's gonna get rough. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna be over Donald Trump, that's for sure. It ain't gonna be over Donald Trump, but it's gonna be over. Hey, there's a lot of people who can't pay their bills, can't make ends meet, and the rich get richer. So
yeah. There's something really insidious about the ability of these Republicans to present these, something like what Maz was talking about, the 3% tax on gains, profit made over a certain amount of dollars. The way that they're able to pitch that as though they're coming for you, working class Americans who will never, reasonably will never be making that insane amount of wealth in your lives, because the American dream, I won't even say it's dead, it never existed to begin with. But they always have to make it some sort of personal affront to the working class and pitching tax cuts as somehow beneficial, because that's something that people can feel, right? When you pay taxes, you see that amount coming out of your paycheck. It doesn't feel great. I'm a private contractor. I have to pay my taxes a lump sum. It sucks, doesn't feel good. So I understand the emotions that they're appealing to in these voters. But it is insidious because it's only to the benefit of the uber wealthy. It's only to the benefit of the top 1%. And we pay less into these taxes than we get out in programs generally as a person who's not wealthy, as a person who's not a millionaire, as a person who's not a billionaire. And the framing around the issues is so harmful to the working class. It just makes me sick.
But what's perplexing is that the working class then supports these people and just buys it hook, line, and sinker. That's why you have somebody like Donald Trump that's able to pull the wool over everyone's eyes, because they just listen, and like I was saying earlier, they're head in the sand party. They don't want to hear anything. They just go, "Oh, I was told that Obamacare is bad for me, so I'm just going to go ahead and protest it." And then a couple years later, they're like, "Oh, I actually got health insurance from that. Oh yeah, that was actually a good thing." So similarly, I'm told that this infrastructure bill is somehow not good for me, and then all of a sudden they're going, "Oh, there's Wi-Fi on my farm somewhere. I actually can get Wi-Fi." So it's unfortunate that there are a lot of people who the constituents who get taken advantage of, and they believe it, and then they buy into the culture wars, and that leads them to just say whatever this Republican is telling me, I'm just going to go ahead and believe him. That, oh yeah, the IRS, more IRS agents means they're coming after me and my $50,000 a year salary versus these billionaires.
And that reminded me of something that Donald Trump said. He said, we did very well with the poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. I mean, there you go. You know what I'm saying? There you go. There you have it. But exactly, it's the culture wars that keep people blinded from policy. But they say the quiet part out loud all the time. They don't hide it. They say they don't want brown people in the country. They say there's too many. It's not even that. Well, yeah, of course there's too many gay people, but it's deeper than that. It's that they have the nerve to be gay out loud. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things, and they have never been quiet about it. Ever since I was old enough to even realize, oh, that's Newt Gingrich, that's Bill Clinton on TV. They was talking about the same stuff. So this isn't new. But unfortunately, the Republican Party is absolutely going to become more authoritarian, 100%. They're not backing down. So,
absolutely. Okay. Well,
my dog agrees.
The pooch, yes, the pooch agrees.
I'll just end on saying to the people out there, you are not a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. You're not a temporarily embarrassed billionaire. All right, you're middle class, you're working class, and that's fine. But don't let these people sell this ridiculous notion on you that if we raise taxes on the rich, it's gonna come back to bite you. It's only gonna come back to help you.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.